It's summer. There's not a lot going on. I've had a lot of time to think about foil stuff. Like, what are we riding? Why are we riding it? So I brought out my two favorite brands. Ironically, his two favorite brands are also one of my favorite brands as well. So we're just gonna kind of talk about what each one is doing and what we use it for and kind of go from there. You want me to start off?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, cool. So Cabrinha, Prestige, 1150, 160 tail, sup all day. Listen, the Cabrinha line, it's so easy, it's so floaty, it turns really well, and it's just something that I'm really happy with. There's other brands that have this floaty feeling, but I've noticed that sometimes when they do, they have a lot of front foot pressure. The Cabrinha stuff just feels very neutral. And it works really well with a lot of different boards. Sometimes when you swap boards to other brands, they tend to have different characteristics that make it feel a little funny. But with the Cabrinha foil, pretty pumped on it. As far as winging, I use the 905 with the 180 tail. I don't know, winging in the waves, I kind of like the low end of the 180 tail. It just makes it easier. Again, like I'm addicted to that float feeling. It makes me feel more comfortable. I'm not a great winger. I've also para-winged this. And again, the Cabrinha stuff, you know, I'm using it for sup, and supping for me is something where I just kind of want to chill and just want to be a little bit more laid back and relaxed and just concentrate on like function over crazy maneuvers. But when I'm in the prone zone, I'm usually gonna go towards the AFS stuff. The Enduro, not really as much anymore. The Silk 950 and the 1050 is kind of taken its spot. They turn so good. And as far as like turbulent water, they're just so easy to ride through. It's just a really fun time. I haven't winged them. Yeah, and I have a feeling that that's gonna happen. And once I start to figure out like how to do paddling up in the bay, para-winging in the bay, like that's where the silks are really gonna kind of take over. Time will tell.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, what are you feeling?
Yeah, so, you know, it kind of, for me, my decision making is kind of based more so on like swell size and wind speed. So like when I'm going out and I show up to the beach and I kind of already have an idea of the forecast, if it's gonna be that like less than 16, 17 mile an hour wind kind of day, I typically go to my trusty Atlas 960, like KT. This thing has like crazy stupid low end, not too much span, so it still surfs relatively well. I pair it with like the long fuse and the Nomad 155 tail. And that pretty much gets me through like all these like light wind days, winging in the waves. So, you know, say it's 9-10 mile an hour wind, gusting to like 16-17 miles an hour. I'm gonna strap this onto the 88 liter KT arc board. And that's just like with a 5 meter wing, I'm just happy as like a pig in shit. But yeah, so like that is just like my light wind winging setup. Now, when it comes to like prone foiling or like more wind, that's when I usually grab, and it's kind of funny. It's like between these two setups right now, is like I just bounce back and forth. I'm like constantly grabbing, like if the wind is gusting to even just like 20 and I'm happy on that 5 meter, I'm going 950 with this U-Surf 135 tail in this short, like more advanced fuselage. And I just like absolutely love that setup. Even if the waves are only like 1 to 2 foot, it still carves. It's got enough low end where I don't feel like I'm stalling out on the waves, and I'm just super happy with that. And then when it comes to like downwinding, I don't typically go for the KT Atlas 960 in the ocean. If anything, if it's like a good day, I'll go with the Atlas 680, and that's like kind of like been my go-to for like when it's like the bombing southerlies and we're going up the coast and it's like, you know, maybe like 3 to 4 or 5 foot wind swell. Like that 680 has enough low end and can just overtake and surf the bumps and carve them as much as I want. I've played with a few of the other AFS wings going downwind. I've tried the Ultra 750. I've used the Silk 950 and some of the Enduros as well. And, you know, it kind of is just like condition dependent. So if it's going to be like a little bit lighter of a day, like something like the Enduro, like 1100, I would prefer to take it just like the AFS just feels a little more slippery through the water than these, you know, Gen 1 KT wings with all that camber in the wing. So, you know, that's kind of like my go-to stuff for like prone foiling is like the Silk 950, light wind winging, KT Atlas 960, more wind, back on the Silk 950.
Yeah.
And then downwinding that day is kind of like, what's my mood? Do I want to stand there and glide? Maybe I'll take like the Ultra, or maybe like if it's a bigger day, the Atlas 680, or do I want to like carve up some small bumps? Maybe the Silk 850 or 950.
Yeah. I think that we're both kind of looking for the same things, and we just have different characteristics of what we like, but the one thing across all of these is that like none of them, except for the Ultra, which you're gonna go for the Silk over the Ultra.
Yeah, as long as like, yeah, it's probably more location dependent too. We have like very localized wind swell, so it's very short period. So like using a 13 aspect ratio foil is like nice when you're learning and you have that extra glide and probably a little more ease of use and pumpability. But like once you get to a certain level and you realize that the bumps aren't moving that fast, it's kind of unnecessary. I don't really find riding like I think the Cabrinhas are like a 10 point something, 11 aspect ratio. And like that's kind of the sweet spot for if you're looking for a little more glide that day. But if you're looking to like just carve the bumps as best you can, like that 8-9 aspect ratio really like comes alive. And like a lot of the guys here have been riding like the Code X series and like different like style 9-8 aspect ratio foils and having like a blast with it. And that's kind of where I fall into. Most of us when we downwind here, we're not looking to race. We're just looking to just surf down the coast for a couple miles.
Totally. And that's exactly what I was getting at. Right now, Kyle from Virginia Beach Voyager, he's got the 1050. He's trying that out. I also gave him the 1000 HA Evo, and I wrote it. This is like total honest feedback. I just don't think I like wings like that. I see where they fall into place, but like it just felt so like I put a little bit too much pressure on going this way, and like I'm going that way. But like when you do that with this, it's just a little bit more ease of use.
Yeah.
I don't want to say the word twitchy because that's like a negative term, but it just feels
more forgiving.
Sure.
And the fact that you're not locking in.
Yeah, and I think that's it, is it's got a locked in feeling.
Yeah.
And then Kyle used the 1050 and he was like, holy smokes, man. Can I borrow this for hood? And I was like, hell yeah, like, let me know. And he's pretty pumped on the AFS stuff too, for that reason. We see these trends, right? And being on the Jersey Shore and also I think East Coast, like, you don't need a 15 aspect ratio wing.
No. Yeah. It's kind of preference, right? If you're training for M to O and you want to familiarize yourself and be comfortable on a 15 aspect ratio wing, then yeah, it makes sense to be riding that like as almost a daily driver and just getting your miles in with it. But if you're downwinding like we are here and just like doing it for the fun and the love of like carving, feeling like you're deep powder snowboarding, then, you know, you can usually make these different foils work really well in those conditions. It's kind of just what you're looking to do.
Yeah.
I had some questions from some local guys about like getting 1600 square centimeter wings. And, you know, I go back and forth with it just because I have had a few like, you know, 13, 1500, 1600 centimeter foils. And I'm always like, like, I don't know, like if you really need it in your quiver. But like this summer is kind of changing my mind a little bit with it, of like that between the dock starting and like the ultra light wind winging. It's like some days there's really just not many more options out there for us. Like, especially like this time of year, July is like our least windiest month. There's still wind, but it's usually typically like 10 to 15. So it's super light. And I think it opens up a lot of days on the water for you if that's something that you do, whether it's you want to go down to the dock and dock start, or you want to wing foil in like flattish water just to get some exercise that day and be out on the water enjoying it rather than just kind of like, you know, floating around on the board and not getting on foil.
Yeah. You know, I didn't really think about it, but I think this is kind of funny that I weigh more than, or I weigh less than you. I weigh more than you.
Yeah.
You prefer the 960, which probably has the same low end as my 1150.
Yeah, I would say so.
But I tried that, and I did not like it.
Yeah, it could be the weight difference, you know, being that I'm 210, 215 pounds.
Yeah.
You're like how much?
Like 140.
140, yeah.
Yeah.
So like that, all that camber and low end just kind of probably doesn't. You're not able to.
I was just trying to keep it down.
Yeah.
And I was like.
Yeah. When you slap on this 960 like too far in the boxes in your board, you know it immediately. Like,
yeah.
There's no like, oh, I'll just ride it there and like move my feet up. Now you got to bring a tool with you and make sure that the thing's balanced, because otherwise it's just like it just wants to keep lifting.
Totally. Yeah. I just thought that was kind of interesting that I'm technically riding a bigger foil than you.
Yeah. If you have more questions about like foil choice or what you're thinking about buying or riding for whatever, just leave them in the comment section below and we'll do our best to answer and try and help you out.
Yeah. And if you want to grab any of this stuff, give us a call, 732-284-3800. You can order online, and if you see something that we don't have, just reach out. Just say, hey man, can you get that? And we'll be like, got it. We can get it. Until next time, go get on foil. Later.